are sitting at the ranking table, brought to you by For the Sake of Heaviness. Hey, everybody, we've got all of our panel belly up against the table again for another night of discussing 5 particular albums from a particular year. Tonight, we're going back to 1987. And the 5 albums that we will be discussing are Laaz Rockit, Know Your Enemy, Holy Terror, Terror and Submission, Nasty Savage, Indulgence, Hades, Resisting Success, and Infernal, Majesty, None Shall Defy. Let's go around the table and introduce our panel. First, we've got one half of For the Sake of Heaviness, my partner, also lead singer of the Mighty Argus, Mr. Butch Balich.
Greetings. Greetings. I'd say by volume, I'm actually probably 2/3. And it's getting bigger every year.
No.
In terms of intelligence, I'm only a quarter. For the sake of heaviness.
Serious math on that one.
Yeah.
For the sake of mathematics.
Yeah.
All right. We've also got one half of the Into the Void, a Black Sabbath podcast, and the mighty drummer behind the kit for Mythosphere and Pale Divine, Darin McCloskey. How you doing, Darin?
Doing good. Glad to be back.
Yeah, good to see you again. All right, the mastermind behind Alpha Destroyer and Sleepless, Mr. Eric Sexton-Dorsett. What's up, Eric?
What's up? Stoked to be here.
And the one, the only, the creator behind Oro Druid and Blizzaro, Mr. John Gallo.
Yeah. Mr. John Gallo.
Good to be back. Whoa!
that intro is going to live in infamy. All right, so it is 1987 all over again. We've got our 5 albums. We're each going to rank it. We'll go our number 5 and 4, and then number 3 and 2, and we'll all finish with number 1. So let's go around the table here, and I think I'm going to start with you, Darin. What you got for number 5 and number 4?
All right. Number 5 for me is I'm going to go with Hades. Resisting Success. I liked the album. I liked it when it came out. I saw it at least a couple times at Lemoore in Brooklyn. They were opening up pretty frequently in and around, I guess, 1986, 87 for various bands. I mean, I think on any given night, if you went to Lemoore, you were going to either get Hades, Carnivore, or the Crumbsuckers. At least 2 of the times I went, I got Hades. Great live band, really talented band, great drummer, great vocals, Alan Tecchio. And I would say that I enjoyed them more live than I did the album, at least at the time that Resisting Success came out. I think there's a lot of ambition in this, but it's also a little bit unfocused in a way, and especially for a lot of the bands in and around that time, the thrash bands that were making an impact. There were certain things that were part of, I guess, for lack of a better word, the trend. You know, you had gang vocals, you had the mosh riffs and stuff like that, and there was some of that with Hades, but I think their music was a little bit more progressive in a way. They had a lot of ideas, and I think my impression is that they try to cram it all into this album, and the production it's audible. It's not bad, but it could be better. And this is the same situation as the last time we did this. I mean, I like all these albums, and I do like this album, but compared to the other stuff, it fell at number 5 for me. So, yeah, that's unfortunately where Hades is. And Dan Lorenzo, great guitar player, great songwriter. Man, he's been around for a long time. He's still active doing bands, and I guess sometime around after Hades broke up, he did another band called Nonfiction, also with Alan Tecchio on vocals, and they were really good. I think I like them more than Hades.
I didn't know that was them.
Then he did get Hades back together again, and I think they did a couple more albums. So,
yeah.
yeah, a band that never really seemed to fulfill the potential. My
Do you guys
experience,
feel
I think.
you guys feel like that was a thing of that time, the shoving it all into one thing, and like every little
In
thing
some
you like had to
cases,
get crammed in there?
I think by
yeah, in
'87
some
there was a lot of competition, so it was almost like a one up kind of thing going on. It's like, oh well, we can jam more of this in here and this in here. So yeah, I do kind of agree with you on that, Eric.
all right. And so number four was a hard one. I really like this album a lot, and I got really good memories of getting it back when it came out. But it's got some stiff competition in this round, and it fell at number four. When I evaluated it against the other things, I think the thing that brought it down the most for me is this is kind of what I qualify as cartoon thrash, where it has sort of a quality that's a little less, in comparison to some of the other stuff, a little less serious. It's more fun, and I love fun just as much as the next guy. But this, if you were to pair this against other what I would consider cartoon thrash bands, I mean, this would probably come up a lot higher. But
Gothic Slam? Or is that
compared to compared to who they're up against, it kind of falls a little bit short. It's got some great riffs. I love the production on it. I was sort of familiar with Laaz Rockit prior to this coming out, but I always thought they were kind of a poser band because they were like on the album covers and they're wearing leather and like straps and everything, and they look kind of posed out a little bit. But then my friend got this on cassette and popped in his tape deck, and right out of the back from the speakers, the guitar just came roaring out. Really nice production, good riffs, vocals are good. It's a good album. There really isn't a bad song on it, but compared to the other things, yeah, it fell at number four for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's go around. Butch, you're up.
All right. Geez, I don't know where to start. I'll start with this. I like all these records, and in some cases, it was a matter of getting reacquainted with a couple of these that I had listened to in a long time. And there's a couple of them that are um, actually newer to me over the last year or so. But I like all these records to varying degrees. The there's a lot of I was struck by how much a lot of good riffing on in this selection of records. Like there's a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot of um, changes and things. So it's really interesting set of five records, and all of them are different from each other in their own way. So it's been a cool month getting getting into these records. Number five for me is the Laaz Rockit. I bought this one when it came out. It was one of those. I remember seeing the City's Burning album cover with the uh like Darin was saying with the dudes on the back, and I'd not heard them yet. But then this album came out, and for whatever, it was one of those ones. I was in the record store and I liked the cover, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I know these guys are metal. I've seen the ad for the other one in metal magazines, and I'm just gonna buy it because I like the color and everything on that cover. I don't know, it just struck me as this is probably really cool, and we listened to it a good bit back in the day. Re-listening to it, I think I was talking to Mike about this at one point, like that where it falls a little flat for me are than the vocals. Michael Coons has a good voice, but at times he's kind of got that. He reminds me a little bit of John Connolly from Nuclear Assault, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just that it's not just something about his voice on here doesn't quite work for me all the time. I think it's probably like the best sounding of the five records. I think the production on it's really good. It just came down to when it came down to songs and something to set it apart. This one just fell to number 5 because I don't like the vocals as much as I did in the other 4, and maybe the writing didn't stand up as well for me. I said like Hiroshima, I think is still great. I always like that song a lot.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah, so Laaz Rockit's number 5 for me. Number 4 is the Nasty Savage Indulgence record. And I feel like this is a record that's could possibly grow on me. If we did the same table a year from now, maybe I'd feel differently about it. I kind of missed Nasty Savage I knew who they were. I knew that I had seen the name. I knew the stories about Nasty Ronnie breaking the TVs on his chest and all that. The only thing that went with it that was missing was I'd never heard them. And I actually bought the first album, but it's still sitting in my I gotta listen to this pile, which just keeps getting larger and larger. I mean, ever since we settled this room a bit, I've been like whittling down this. It's a monstrous stack of need to get to. So that's in there. I've heard it on Spotify, but and it's good. And then Indulgence, I think, is really good too. It's wild. I would love to know, has anyone seen them in the last, I don't know, any of the shows they've done in the last 5-10 years?
Yeah, I saw them at before Randy started doing Blades of Steel. He was doing the NYDM Spring Bash, and Nasty Savage played, I can't remember the year, 2013, 14, I don't know, at least 10 years, if not more. But at that particular time, Ronnie was in like really bad shape, and it was not a good show at all. But I've heard since, he's kind of taking care of himself a little more, and the shows have been better. So
I'm just curious if he could do that high pitch, that King Diamond-esque.
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere too.
He used to be able to. It's just like you listen to the song, and it reminds me of like Oliva a little bit, where John would be singing in that, that lower thing, and then all of a sudden come out with that. There's a lot on this album that I dig. I love like the shifting riffs and stuff. There's like a progressive edge to the record that I think is really cool. And like for someone who hadn't really like listened to them in the past, I wasn't prepared for that. I always just thought they were like probably just a straight up thrash,
more straightforward,
like heavy band. Yeah, and they're more. It's a little
very unique.
Intricate. When you hear about a singer busting TVs on his chest, you think this is gonna be very primal, and it's not that it's not like, no pun intended, a savage album, but it's got like the shifting tempos and things going on, and he does some cool things with his voice. Some of the, I'd have to really get into the lyrics, but some of the topical stuff hasn't aged as well. Like XXX and
that's a good tune, man.
Anyway, I have to get this album is on my, it's on my acquire list. I got to get the Laaz Rockit too if I see it pop up. But yeah, I mean, the other 3 I had, I just kind of like more. I mean, I think it's a really good record. And again, I just feel like this is going to be kind of an acquired taste in a way, like just adjusting to his voice a little bit and to really take in what's going on, because I've only had like a few solid listens to the album. So yeah, Indulgence number 4 for me, but I mean high marks for both these records so far.
Sure. All right, Eric, how about you? What you got for 5 and 4?
Man, well, this was a very cool and unique session we did. Yeah. Like Butch said, the last month has been intriguing because I was reacquainting myself with some stuff that had I'd listened to back when it came out, but it kind of had some of it flew more under the radar at the time, or I listened to it a little bit, fits and starts, but it kind of never stuck with me. And then I think there's a couple of things like when you're thinking about when I think of 1987, if someone was like pull out, we all know, like we skip the stuff on the list that's the most obvious. But if I'm
Crazy
in
Nights?
my car or whatever, and I'm thinking of what's that?
Crazy Nights?
Exactly, Crazy Nights. That was the one I was thinking. So I mean, it doesn't get much better. So when you're in the car and you're like, fuck it, it's Crazy Nights, right? Or didn't Did Under the Sign of the Black Mark come out that year?
I think-
Sick.
A Seventh Son of a Seventh Son came out.
Yep.
Well, there's that too. Okay, but you know what I'm saying. Release from Agony, whatever it was, like there's the obvious ones that I just put on, and we do this by default, So it's like I have to kind of really be in my nerd out mood to go pull stuff out. And when I have let records go in the past, usually they go to my son, who's 24-year-old metalhead, and my test is to listen to the first side of the record. And if I don't feel like I would pull that out in the next 6 months urgently to listen to it, I'm like, fuck it. It goes to my kid Hickson. Otherwise, if the first side, it makes it past the first side, I listen to the second side and the side. So these ones usually, a lot of these just weren't in that mix. But again, they were good. And it's like you guys are all saying, like, good stuff, but it's hard to say. And Darin, you had some points that were just sticking in my head too, like, oh, I see these guys, used to see these guys all the time, I'm like, in Portland, I don't think those bands, they didn't play here much, if they played at all. So it just wasn't there. Now, you had me at Crumbsuckers. That would have been great to see them alternating on shows. I mean, I saw Propane once, and that was as close as I was ever going to get,
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, it was early, like first record or whatever. So cool. Okay. Yeah. So back where we were. I'd love to share stories about that stuff, but that just gets me going because that Crumbsuckers were very influential to me. As far as crossover stuff goes, that's what like sparked me to go crazy and do everything. Again, combining all the styles was like, oh shit, there's bits of Dio here, there's bits of punk rock, there's bits of, So for me, number 5 though is Nasty Savage. They're just a band. When they were on the Metal Massacre, Triple X was always kind of like the kind of laughable tune on the record, but it wasn't bad. It was like I liked, the double bass thing was cool, but it was just so kind of hokey. And we had a couple, well, I'm not gonna name names, a couple bands around here that were friends of mine who had bands that remind me just like Nasty Savage. Like they were trying to do lots of different things and they just weren't particularly great at it. But I support the arts, and I know Nasty Savage has a huge following. I don't know if it was this festival, this 2013, but like I think it was the last show my band Dead Conspiracy played. We co-headlined. I think we were on one stage, and Nasty Savage was on the other. And so, their draw was great, and it was cool to see them, out there doing it still and just, keeping it real. So, but that record, man, I just kept playing it like at the gym and, trying to get going. Even the remake of Triple X wasn't as good as but we're all gonna say that. I mean, Swing of the Axe on Metal Massacre versus the re-recording of Swing. Come on. I mean, that first one, I'll kick somebody down a flight of stairs every time I hear that, so good. So anyway, so I just feel like there was lost between, what's that?
I said, kick that record down the stairs.
Yeah, which one? The Metal Massacre?
Not Possessed.
To you? Oh yeah. I mean, come on. But that demo period, Anyhow, I just feel like they get lost between you start right out of the gate, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm hearing Joey Belladonna kind of, and then it slips into those King Diamond falsettos, but they just don't sound honest like King Diamond falsetto. It sounds like you're trying to do it. Like, look what I'm going to do here, guys. I'm going to freak you out with this. It's cool, but it's not that, to me, not listenable cool. Like, I just want to play it again, and I do appreciate the fact that during that time, I know that they were experimenting with playing different time signatures and they say, and experimenting with progressiveness. I did sit, again, lots of too much information, but I do this. I did sit in the sauna and try to count odd meters on this record because I'd read that they said that they were doing a lot of odd meters. And there was one song that has some 3/4 in it. And then there's the instrumental that I don't know what they're doing. It's almost kind of like like what Dream Theater would do, where they just kind of do 1 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 1 1 2 3. Like they're just fucking around, which is cool because I couldn't count it. There was a part I tried over and over again. And I couldn't get it. And I was like, oh, they're doing like a Dream Theater thing. back then. And I think they're just kids fucking around. So, I mean, cool, good for them. Distorted Fanatic I thought was the coolest track on the record. It was that was a fun tune. All of a sudden it kind of felt like they settled in. There was some kind of progressive elements in that part. But yeah, so they're just, I feel like I thought I needed to do push-ups before this because we might get into a fight or something. Like, I know that these guys have fans, and I'm like, I don't want to be the guy. It's like the Manowar thing. I don't want to be on camera saying I don't like Manowar that much. I mean, yeah, so many of my friends love them. We get to fucking fist fight everybody here. So that's my take on that. So I have it number 4 on my notes. Oh, I had this 2, 3, 4 kind of there was a lot of back and forth. They were moving around, like changing positions. But Laaz Rockit for me was number 4. So pretty straightforward on that one. You guys already said pretty much everything I was thinking. Hiroshima was the standout track for me. So when I think Butch mentioned that, or it was like, hey, I don't know, there you go. This happened last time. You mentioned several tunes. I was like, oh, dude, that was my cut,
That's what Jared.
I wasn't a big fan of his falsetto, or not falsetto, but vibrato. It actually did remind me of Nuclear Assault, which I'm not super big into Nuclear Assault. But the vibrato at times just got excessive. It was cool at some points, but then it would just keep going. Like, you just got to keep doing it for the sake of doing it. And it was like this, all over the place. And I was like, anyway, it just was a little too much. And the vocal cadences, like some of the rhythms sound like if you would have spent 10 more minutes working on it, it would have been more interesting. But they come right out again. I think you said, Darin, like, you turn it on and that first thrash riff comes out and you're like, fuck yeah, we're in it.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be number 5, but by song 3, I'm like, well, they're gonna be number 4. Like, it's just gonna be there. I had another thought, and I don't know if it really has to do with Laaz Rockit per se, but I remember in like whatever that was, early 90s, I'm old as dirt, but when bands like Korn came out, and I was gonna play in a band with a friend of mine, and he said he was playing the riffs, and I was like, where's like the fast parts? And he's like, oh man, you got to listen to these bands like Korn, because thrash bands get it wrong because they're always you have to wait for the breakdown, but these bands get rid of all that and they just get right to the good shit. And I'm like, well, but where's the crescendo? Where's the, it's a fucking, It's just a constant, okay, I get it, but it just made me think about this one because some of my favorite parts were their breakdowns. And every time they do a breakdown, I was like, sweet. Then we'll go into a solo with a 16th beat, a 16th note double bass, dig it, and that just kind of gets old. But their breakdowns were super cool, and it made me think of the Korn thing. I was like, I'm glad they still played the fast riffs, and their fast riffs were cool. But I think it's what sets this 2, 3, and 4 area around is the use of those types of fast riffs that sound, whether they sound interesting or not. That's it. That's 4.
Good stuff.
Well done. Well said.
Okay, I'll take a breath now.
Get your oxygen tank.
My kombucha's fucking me up.
Eric needs to step away for a moment.
I do.
All right, John, how about you? 5 and 4.
Well, going back to Laaz Rockit, that's my number 5. Yeah, you know what? All the albums this time, yeah, everything was pretty interesting. Every band had something different to deliver, and I did like how every band kind of had sort of like unique parts, like a lot of cool guitar solos, throughout. And with this album, I really liked on Most Dangerous, like these like treble-esque harmony type guitar solos. Did you notice like that? Almost reminds me of is it Peace of Mind by Trouble off of Run to the Light? It kind of had that kind of vibe going on there.
Yeah.
Last Breath kind of reminded me of almost like a Defenders of the Faith era, like Rob Halford voice, but like more extreme. And what was the other one? Means to an End kind of remind me of like of Accept a little bit in a weird way. Did you feel that vibe in that song? Like, but yeah,
I didn't
Eurosh.
per se, but I probably will next time I
Yeah,
check it
if
out.
I
Now
think
that you
of it,
brought that
yeah.
up,
I like Mad Axe Attack. I like how that's like the sort of instrumental kind of craziness there, and I guess I always appreciate all the sort of epic-y kind of guitar solo stuff. Yeah, Hiroshima is an awesome track. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe why I put this as number five is like kind of like what everyone else was saying about how the vocals just kind of go a little too beyond for me, where it seems like it just gets like a little overbearing. But I liked like some of the songs where sometimes it would actually start off more slow. Where I forgot which one it was, where it kind of reminded me more of like a Manila Road kind of thing, like where they'll start kind of a slow and atmospheric and that. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on that. I don't have any history with Laaz Rockit. I don't really know them too much. So this was my first time really delving into them. So my number four is Hades Resisting Success. And, some aspects of this album really surprised me. Like, is it Mask of the Red Death is the one that has, like, I guess this band almost reminds me of, like, Mercy. Almost has, like, doom metal kind of feeling to it.
Very
yeah,
epic quality to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Edgar
think
Allan Poe.
yeah, and all the doomiest parts of this album were really made me like those aspects of it. What else? I had some other notes. Blah 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 blah. Oh yeah, in some ways, like the production almost kind of reminded me of like the Armored Saint album too. Like it had like that sort of I don't know, not as warm and mid rangey, but it kind of like in that realm. I like the Cross a lot. Um, let's see. The Leaders, it kind of reminded me of Slayer a lot. Like that song is very much like Slayer. Did you notice that?
I did.
Yeah. Um, what else did I write here? I actually own a CD by Hades, but I think it's from like the '90s. It looks like it has like a green logo or something. I don't remember the name of it though, and I'm not even sure if I even listened to it yet. But I picked
I
up
think
one of their CDs.
they had one. It was called Savior, like Savior
Yeah, yeah.
Save
Self.
yourself, damnation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay.
must have been
Yeah,
it.
two in the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have it around. I gotta dig that one out and check it out.
Hades
But
premiered on one of the Metal Massacres, right? Was that one of the first appearance of Hades? Like one of the
I
earlier.
thought the Cross was on one of those early comps like that came out
Is that
back
what?
in the
Maybe
day.
that's not that. For some reason, I thought it was on one of the Metal Massacres. That could be though, Butch. I'm not sure.
We should remember because we all talked to Dan Lorenz
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
with
did. That's right.
Sean.
so that guy's been around since like the '70s, right? He started the band in the '70s.
I think so.
78, I think it's when they started. Um, and yeah, he was really interesting to talk to. I mean, he was a really nice guy, but very prolific. I mean, he has like a couple bands going on at the same time. He's writing songs. I think he wrote some songs for other people too. He's you know, he's a lifer for sure. I just it's kind of funny when, the album title Resisting Success. I wonder if that was like intended to be a self-fulfilling prophecy or it's like a foregone conclusion because they never really for all the effort. And the songs that you were mentioning, John, the Mask of the Red Death and the Cross, it's like they're great songs, but it's not. They don't fit in with some of the other songs. So when I said it was lack of focus, it's
Yeah.
because they just cut a wide swath. There's some proggy stuff. There's some more like
Oh yeah.
East Coast thrash
I like the
things going on.
interludes that remind me of like Hawkwood and Manila Road, like those little
Yeah, it's
space
all over the place.
voices. Yeah.
And I think when any band tries to, or whenever any band cuts such a wide swath, I think it's something that makes it difficult for people to connect to because I think not to say that everybody's dumb, but I mean, heavy metal audiences are by and large not you're by and large not the most intellectual, especially in and around this time when you had bands like Anthrax and I Am the Law and like I referred to cartoon thrash
Sure,
where the
sure.
subject matter was pretty mundane. So, things had to be pretty neatly compartmentalized in order, I think, at least at that time, for people to really latch onto it. And I think that Hades might have been a little bit too cerebral
Mm.
um, to really catch on the way that they probably deserve to be, you know. Um, but
That could be.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's all I got for that. So that's my number 4.
Nice. And that's all I got for that.
Like, fuck those guys.
I'll keep it simple.
And also fuck them.
All right, well, I'll continue on the Hades path because that's my number 5.
You guys are
I'll be
killing me.
real honest. I was kind of late to the game with Hades. You know, I knew of them. I might have heard a little bit, but I never really, you know, went after them or listened to them a lot. It took a while. I think it was probably even beyond 87 before I really kind of checked them out. So revisiting this, the first time I put it on in forever, my first instinct was like, man, I forgot this is a fucking Rager album. This is really, really good. And then that started to wear off the more I gave it repeated lessons. And I kind of came to the conclusion, and this is not a slam or anything, but it kind of goes along with our conversation. For me, it was we were at the point of trying to put 20 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag. There was just so much going on that it became monotonous after a while and just kind of fatiguing to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe that's why way back when I got tired of them. And I'm not saying it's not a bad album because it does have its highlights. I think the centerpiece is Mask of the Red Death. That's a fantastic song. Well done. And the subject matter, obviously, you can't go wrong with Poe. But Tecchio sounds really good. And I even felt like he kind of treaded in John Bush territory on occasion, depending on how the song would flow. He'd come in and out sounding like that to me a little bit. Lorenzo, you know, it speaks for itself. Legal Tender was another song that I think is really, really good. Very strong selection off of that. Um, Overall, it's a good album. I just think there's, like we've been saying, I think there's just too much going on all at once. Um, Whether that was a sign of the times, because it seemed like right around that area or that era, everybody was really trying to show off a little bit. You know, we had all the, you know, on the other side of the 80s, there was all the shredders and everything. And I think a lot of that took place in thrash bands too. It's like who can out shred one another? Who's got the blazing solos? So um, I will say though, I did like Nonfiction. I really got into that band. I
Yeah.
thought they were good. And then Tecchio, he ended up with Watchtower, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
So I mean, those guys did stay, you know, within the realm of heavy music. So yeah, Hades would be my number 5 resisting success. Number 4 will be Nasty Savage. Again, yeah, we were aware of them, but the more we kind of got into them, Darin, you were kind of mentioning the whole cartoon thing. Well, for me, Nasty Savage was like WWF metal. I couldn't. It didn't appeal to me a whole lot. But upon, you know, further inspection and getting into them a little bit, I was like, man, this is actually really, really good. If you can put the comical side, you know, to the side, and Nasty Ronnie, you know, busting up TVs and being crazy. The guy had an incredible range. You know, there's no doubt about that. And then, you know, that album was recorded at Morrisound Studios, and I think that out of all of these albums, that the production on this one really stands out. It's a really well-rounded, well-sounding album. Um, Definitely more technical than their debut, because I went back and I listened to that just for a little bit of a reference point. And Indulgence definitely upped the technicalities. I like Stabbed in the Back, Hypnotic Trance are really good. But yeah, you know, it's a fun album now that I've gone back and kind of reacquainted myself with it. And I think I probably like it a little bit more now than I did back then. So, you know, I'll go along and say too, you know, depending on how much I listen to these, you know, these all 5 of these could get shuffled around. But yeah, that was a nice revisit for Indulgence. So that's my number 4. So let's move on right back to you, Darin, and number 3 and number 2.
So number 3 is Infernal Majesty. I was a little late to the game on these guys. I didn't hear about them until like around 1989, 1990, probably closer to 1990. Um, when I was getting into death metal, and by death metal at that point it was Morbid Angel, um, I guess Hellwitch, Autopsy, and I guess the earache bands like Carcass and stuff. So, especially Morbid Angel, reading interviews and talking to people in and around the scene at that time, they are always, well, a lot of them would frequently name drop Infernal Majesty. And I'm like, how did I not hear about these guys? And so I got None Shall Defy probably around 1990. And yeah, I was like kind of blown away. I'm like, how did I not hear about it? And I don't ever recall seeing their records in a record store. Um, so I don't know how I missed them, but I mean they're right up there with like Possessed, um, fast thrash, I guess, bordering on proto death metal in much the same way that Possessed kind of did. Although Possessed, I would say, and maybe Butch, you want to contribute to this because I know you're a huge Possessed fan. So Possessed was a little bit more aggressive, especially in the vocals. And maybe and Majesty wasn't quite as aggressive vocally, but the music was every bit as aggressive. And you can hear a lot of Morbid Angel. I guess Morbid Angel probably took, well, I mean, I guess they're right around the same time. I mean, 86, 87, Morbid Angel were kicking around. So, but there's a commonality between these bands. And I was listening to it. But once I got into it, I really appreciated it and I listened to it pretty frequently. But then I kind of put it aside for a little while. And when I was evaluating these albums and trying to figure out the order that I was going to put them in, I was excited for the Infernal Majesty. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, that's a really great pick. Was that your pick, Eric?
Oh yeah, it was.
Was that your
It was.
pick?
Yeah, that
Infernal
was my pick.
Majesty?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, that's an awesome pick. So I was listening to it again and I was like really, really getting into it. So yeah, so they end up at number three for me. And we had number three and two. We're doing two. Okay. Number two, I'm gonna go against the grain here. And everybody's been like kind of hating on Nasty Savage, but I love Nasty Savage. I got into Nasty Savage and like around the time the first album came out, and we had so
I've
much
been waiting
fun
to hear this.
crash into that. It's like I love that album. Gladiator, Metal Nights. I mean, they're just like songs you like throw your fist in the air. And I didn't see them. I don't think they came around actually. And if they did come around, it might have been like a festival or something. But I didn't see them until I guess it was probably '88, and they came around with DRI, and I saw them at the Trocadero in Philadelphia. And that show was like they had a relatively short set. I forget who headlined. Um, but I think they opened the show. But I mean, man, they just Ronnie had the TV, he was smashing the TV on his chest, he was jumping in the air and flipping on the ground, blood gushing out of his head. And it was the classic lineup. I think they had Dave Austin on guitar, Ben Meyer on guitar, Kurt Beeson, who was a phenomenal drummer, actually really underrated, I would say, as far as thrash metal drummers of that era go. I mean, he was just a ripper. So Kurt Beeson on drums, and of course Nasty Ronnie on vocals. But man, they were so tight, and I think there was like some people there that probably weren't that familiar with Nasty Savage at the time, but by the time they finished, everybody was just like totally into it. And but anyway, so yeah, I'm just, and that was later. That was the album, I guess, probably. So after Indulgence, they put out an EP called Abstract Reality. That was sort of like it kind of felt like leftover material from Indulgence, but then the tour that I saw them on was for Penetration Point. But they're all pretty similar. But Indulgence initially, it I guess like one of you guys described, it has kind of a progressive vibe to it, and I wasn't really receptive to that at the time. I wanted more like the meat and potatoes, Nasty Savage, the thrash, and the traditional Nasty Savage. And they were kind of going into a little more of a progressive direction on this. So I was a little bit disappointed by it. I liked the album. I didn't like it as much initially as the first album. Um, but fast forward a few years later, and I got the urge to listen to it, and I put it on, and I was just like, wow, what didn't I like about this? It was really, really good. And I think I probably like it. I reach for it when I get the urge to listen to Nasty Savage. This is usually the one I pull out. And song Stabbed in the Back is great. Divination is really cool. It's got a great breakdown in and around the middle. I'm gonna take points away though for Triple X, XXX, because I like the Wage of Mayhem version better. It's like it's just a little bit too fast. I mean, I appreciate that Kurt Beeson's like got some killer double kick going on, but it kind of loses the vibe for me. I like it kind of like in the same tempo that it was on the Wage of Mayhem demo. Um, but yeah, I mean, it does kind of go into some proggy, almost psychedelic. I got to give points to the lyrics. The lyrics, other than XXX, of course, I kind of like getting into some interesting stuff. Um, I think that at the time, Nasty Ronnie was getting into psychedelics too, so I think that kind of like influenced his lyric writing, with the exception of XXX. That's pretty straightforward. I think we can all relate to that. Um, yeah, it's a pretty ambitious album, especially for the time they came out. I think, um, yeah. So it falls at number 2 for me. Nasty Savage, quite a bit higher than where you guys placed it, but I don't know. Some of it's from
Fascinating
nostalgia.
nonetheless. Not time to
Yeah.
go back and listen again, I guess.
What's fun about doing this because you get to hear everyone else's, interpretation of what they
Yeah.
heard. So, all right, Butch, how about you? 3 and 2.
All right, number 3 for me is Infernal Majesty. I remember I think it was my best friend in high school bought this. He got it at a used record store in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I think he bought it on vinyl too, which is odd because usually we bought stuff on cassette. Although I did buy vinyl, of course, at the time, but and I think he bought the vinyl, and I didn't remember liking this at all when I first heard it. Now we all know that at the time that I was still having to adjust to that vocal style. Like for me, like to listen to it now, it's funny to listen to it now because I'm like, it's not really that extreme to hear it now. But at the time, I was like, this is awful, and the cover is stupid. Like I still think the cover looks dumb for like it doesn't. I mean, 80s record covers could be like that, but it really doesn't portray what's in the record. Has a darker vibe than that cover is so cartoonish and silly. But
It is.
I really found myself digging the record. Like a lot of the riffs on here are really cool. Again, it was kind of like a riff. It's got a lot of in listening to it now, I can hear some of the stuff Darin was talking about. I got like an overwhelming sense of like Slayer through a lot of it, like that kind of vibe, especially on the first song. I definitely like this better than Possessed. It just Bachera's voice is the killer for me with them. If you talk about a band that I want to like, because I know that we're not talking about that record, and I know how important that record is, and everyone that I know that I respect loves that record, and every time I listen to it, all I can think of is I can't turn it off soon enough because it like wow. I get physically ill when I listen to it for whatever reason. Like honest to God, like I get this like physical sense that like I'm like repelled by the power of Christ repels me or something, and I'm not even a Christian, so something is anyway.
It's pretty evil vibes on it, yeah.
But I like this guy's voice better, is what I'm trying to say. It's good though, man. I again, it's another one that I have to put on the list of. I got to keep my eye out for this. Hopefully, try to find I don't know. Does anyone know if it was ever reissued? Because I know an original would probably be kind of pricey. Oh,
Yeah, I
perfect.
have
So,
High Roller reissue.
so I'll have to try
I
to
think it was
grab that
nasty.
because I really did like it. Nice and heavy. It's one of the good things about having now over the years been able to accept more extreme kinds. Now I go back and listen to records that I thought were like unlistenable at the time, and I'm like, what was I thinking? I just that's a dumb kid that you know.
Do you think that you'll eventually warm up to Possess Seven Churches? Do you think we'll be sitting here maybe next year
Never.
and you'll be like, I don't know why I didn't love this. This record
I
is
don't know. I mean,
awesome.
maybe it's my
I
hearing
love
gets worse
Seven
as I
Sinners Folk.
as I get older. I mean, I can't explain it because there's a lot of stuff from that time period, honest to God, that I thought was like way too extreme that I grew to Bruce. That I grew to like over the years, and I've been able to listen to death metal and some funeral, whatever, extreme black metal and funeral doom, and I just can't with his voice for some reason. I don't know what it is, and I try. Honest to God, it's one of those records. Every so often, I'm like, I have to listen to it, see what I'm missing. I do. I will say that I do appreciate it more now than I did at one time, but I just can't get past the Vokes on that. But as far as this one goes, number 3 for me on this one, and I was surprised by that because I thought it would be going into it. I thought that's going to be number 5 for sure, for what I remembered of it. But yeah, it's a cool record. I definitely have to grab that. Number 2 for me, this is one I actually have. I just got this. Darin, I have to thank you for these guys because you used to talk about I don't know how many times I've seen you bring Holy Terror up, and I was like, who that?
Yeah.
Again, a band that totally I didn't even heard of these guys in the 80s. I can't even remember seeing this cover anywhere at the time. Oh shit, that record almost dropped out on me.
Oh
Which
no.
which version is that? Is that the music, not Music for Nations, Under One
It's
Flag,
back
or is
on
that?
it's back on black.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's what they had at the attic. That's what I grabbed.
That's
Um
cool. Yeah.
yeah, I had a CD version of this that had this one and it had Mind Wars and then it had a couple of live It
Mm-hmm.
was like 3 CDs or something, 3 or 4 CDs, and it didn't make the I not much did. I called like a large part of my CD collection, um, and been focusing more on vinyl. But I rebought this. This is killer, um, and yeah, I mean, again, I sound like a broken record, but like the riffing on here is phenomenal, and the more I listen to it, it's one of those ones. The first time I heard it, I was kind of like, this is pretty good. But in successive listens, I find more to like about it every time. It just like grows on me and grows on me. Like I think the first song, this Black Plague, is cool, but as this is one of those records. As it goes on, I'm just like it's more and more. I'm like, oh, better, better. Oh, this is killer. And I love Keith Dean's voice on here. Um, just like killer, great stuff, man. It just savage shit. Um, and I can't believe it's hard. I guess because I wasn't like a hardcore thrash kid is why I did. I like thrash and stuff, but I my friends just weren't like I didn't have like kids that I hung out with that got into that were too into stuff beyond unless it was something that I picked up on a whim, like Hollow's Eve or there are bands like that, or like my buddy picking up the Infernal Majesty. There was stuff like that you or Laaz Rockit, like you'd pick up because someone else, because you like the cover. But otherwise, I wasn't hearing about a lot of these bands. Like I said, I wish I would have known about them sooner because I feel like I lost God knows how many years, obviously, of being able to enjoy this record. So, and the next one's on my hit list next. Killer bands. So I'm glad this is one of those ones, like I said, Darin had mentioned them a few times and I like had to check them out. So it was cool that it was, that you picked it for this too. It gave me another reason. I'm just like, I'm just going to go buy it. I'm not even going to bother looking because I didn't have it. I'm not going to bother trying to find it online. Listen to it that way. I'm going to go get the record. So killer album. Yeah, that's number 3 is Infernal Majesty and number 2 is Holy Terror.
Cool. Perfect. All right. 3 and 2 for you, Eric.
Oh shit. I had a couple of questions too, and I forget. Darin. So Nasty Ronnie got into psychedelics around the time they wrote that record.
Yeah, yeah.
Fascinating.
He did.
I mean,
'Cause
was that?
we interviewed him. I was doing a fanzine when I was a teenager,
Yeah.
and it was thrash predominantly. It was only thrash and like hardcore crossover stuff. And Ronnie, we used to call people. We got people's phone numbers. We called Caton a few times, which is always fun. Ronnie, we called a couple times. We did one of the times we did an interview. The first time we called him to set up an interview, and then we did, and we talked to him for a little while, and he was just, I don't know if it was an act, but he was just crazy. He was talking like gibberish and going off on weird tangents and
Oh, I
stuff
see.
and then so the second time was the interview itself, and then he just flat out said, he's like, I've been experimenting with like LSD and all this stuff. And I thought, I mean, it was kind of strange for somebody to that genre of music to be experimenting with hallucinogenics, but I guess it kind of like it makes sense because there's some real, like the following EP would be Abstract Reality, which is an extension of, like I said, Indulgence. I mean, I guess it kind of, I don't know, it enhanced the creative process in a way for him anyway. I mean, there's only so much you could sing about, like gladiators and metal nights and dungeons of pleasure, and I mean, they kind of exhausted that whole thing. So it was cool to see them moving forward. But yeah, I think that according to what he said, it was largely influenced by.
Fascinating. I'll go back and listen some more. I mean, I've been sober for like 30 years, but my wife's a doctor and talked to me for like 2 years into show me research on using psychedelics for anxiety and depression and shit. So I've become a huge proponent of them. And I was like, I feel like you could have wrote a better record on psychedelics, but I'm gonna listen to the next one too and see how that kind of
Yeah.
see if I can sense that in there. And my other question was if maybe we gave psychedelics to Butch, he would figure out the beauty of Possessed.
I'm afraid that would open a door that I would have a bad trip, and it would just open like a door to hell, and it'd be like the album cover for the what's the second record, Beyond the Gates, or
Oh yeah,
Gates.
where you open it up and it,
yeah, and it's just like
now
I never thought I always thought that inside cover wasn't as cool as it could have been, but it was like I was always
way cooler.
What's behind the cover? It's got to be hell. What's back there? And then I saw it. I'm like, it's not as scary as I thought.
They put too much money into a bad cover on that. But no, we'll put a Mindfold on you, and like I'll trip sit for you, and we'll put 7 churches on and some psilocybin, and I think you'll see the light. I got an A on my in my English class as a senior because after I read the lyrics to the song 7 Churches. Anyway, the teacher said he thought fire was going to shoot out of my eyes, and so I mean, yeah, so that's some good shit, dude. Anyhow,
it's evil, man, for sure.
In the best possible way. Hades, number 3. So again, like these ones were kind of shuffling around, and I hadn't heard Hades in a long time. And did you say that it's re-released? Is it? Oh no, I'm thinking
the Holy Terror got reissued.
Okay. Yeah. So,
those Hades might have too.
Yeah, probably did.
I had trouble finding the Hades record, like even online, like just to listen to, because first of all, there's 5 zillion bands called Hades of all different musical genres. So it's just hard to find other than like YouTube. But anyhow, that record, they were lower. And then actually just today, I was in the gym and I was listening to them and I was like, fuck, these guys just moved up for me. And it could have just been the song Legal Tender. I love the first Megadeth record. I mean, to me, that psychotic thrash jazz thing they were doing, I still think to this day is just one of my favorite things to listen to. I can't listen to it all the time, but when I put it on, I'm just drawn into it. And that song, I was like, oh, they're completely ripping off that record. and they did it in the best possible way. If you check out that song, there's just the riffs, it's straight out of there, just the little pull-offs and the crazy drums, and they just is really cool. Like I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna give major points for that. But I did feel like they were doing a lot of different things. Each song kind of felt like almost like a different band in certain ways, and but I thought what they do was cool. Production wise, and I think production is like on two different levels of me. Like there's production as in like the sound, and then there's production as in who's producing the record. And where you guys talk about, do you see Nasty Savage was done at Morrisound? I just love to hear like what Nasty Savage, it made me immediately think, what would they sound like if Terry Date produced them? You know, like take someone who could make like Dead Heart in a Dead World and then have them do a Nevermore record or a Nasty Savage record. Just, I wonder what it would have sounded like. Cause I think a lot of what I didn't like was that. But anyway, back to this. I love the 80s Rototoms. Those were cool. I gave me another possessed point there. Like anyone could effectively use Rototoms and not have it sound horrible. I get some points from me because they were the shittiest thing ever made. That and the piccolo snare that was popular in the late 80s. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, that fucking piccolo snare, our drummer got one and I had to force myself to like it, and it's so god awful sounding. I don't know what the deal is. The singer, Butch, don't kill me on the vocal comments. I thought he moved really well between, I guess what I would call like his head voice and his falsetto, like seamlessly moving like in that range. And then by like the middle of the record, he's still kind of a tenor, I guess, but he moved into the lower range and got more of this kind of beefy type vocal tone that I thought was cool. I don't know all the differences with the vocals. I try to learn it, but I can't sing for shit. But I feel like that.
Neither can I.
That about. What's that?
Neither can I.
Yeah, you can. Don't give me that shit. You can sing your balls off. So he's like, but yeah, I really like that. I like that it felt very honest and like he had a very well developed voice, whether it was trained or not. I just like his sound. I like it. It just sounds cool to me. The bass drums are at least 10% higher than the whole rest of the record. And so that drove me kind of nuts because they were, cool. The double basses are great, but everything was just peaking out right above everything else. Almost like a pop singer, they'll put the vocals out in front of the music. And this was like the bass drums had to be like, we got to make them sound like Voivod. Let's fucking put them way out front or whatever, but it's just too much. Anyway, also I love the guitar tone overall on that record. And I loved some of the cool, John, you're talking about some of the soloing on some of the records.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention to a lot of soloing, but this one had some cool soloing with some weird, I couldn't tell whether they were playing like actual like diminished scales or just like chromatic shit. It was just nutty. And
it was cool. Yeah.
Did you get that?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I felt like that was actually enjoyable when I got to those parts where they would start soloing. And they would kind of chromatically go into it before they would make out into a melody, I guess, or just some sort of a scale. Yeah. And the guitar riffs, they were definitely very the type of tone. It was a little higher, but it seemed like it fit well with that production on that album. You know.
Yeah, I thought they were cool. That kind of grabbed me towards my last listen again today, refreshing. I was like, man, that's really cool. So that moved them up the list for me. So then number 2 for me is Holy Terror. That record is another one that slipped by me too. I don't, Portland. I don't know. I don't want to blame Portland, but I mean, you go into Second Avenue Records here, and they either had it or they didn't. Like you saw something cool and you bought it, and even if it wasn't that cool, it just looked cool. But this one is one that I didn't see. But anyway, listening to it over the years, off and on, just kind of was another one just kind of went under the radar for me. But this month, again, you guys have forced my hand to sit here and go back and listen, and I appreciate it so much because man, this album's fucking shreds. It's it's killer thrash that just hits me in all the spots that I like about thrash. It doesn't go into, like you said, whether it's WWF or what do you call it, Darin, like the clown, whatever, the cartoon.
Cartoon thrash. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's definitely not in that vein. And but I love how they're coming right out Black Plague and like Mortal Fear, these just precise fucking, thrash picking, but interesting. They're not getting lost in the mire of what they're trying to accomplish. It's like they just feel like they're just writing fucking honest killer riffs, man. Like, like and then they go into shit like Guardians of the Netherworld.
Yeah,
which
more melodic.
Totally. And I'm a sucker for an Aussie riff. And they start
Suicide Solution.
Oh, 100%. When you start with
and I was going to say that.
Sleepless, but if you start with bump, bump, bump with that riff behind it, you already got me right there because it creates that space, and all of a sudden it's just, I'm like, whoa, shit, what's going on now?
Rudy Sarzo style.
100%. Well, or all the guys who actually play all that stuff. But yes.
Bob Daisley. Yeah,
it's Bob Daisley on a little fucking short scale SG bass with a pick, and doing those things so beautifully. But I love that because I actually was talking to a friend of mine the other day about, I was like, God, what? Why didn't more bands do what Ozzy's band did? Like, like after Blizzard of Oz and Diver Madman, he's like, because none of us could play it. And I'm like, yeah. And if you could, you were just trying to approximate it. So like when I hear a band like trying to get that kind of, just fullness in the music, I don't know how to describe it. It's a totally different feel, and it doesn't sound, but it doesn't. It's more like I know Mike and Butch. I've talked about this. Like, and for me, like when you hear an album, I want to hear dynamics. I want to hear, Detroit Rock City and next to Beth, even though I don't want to hear Beth at all. But then there's other ones, you move through the record and it shifts, morphs, but it's not trying to be all things at once. It's just being a killer fucking metal record. I think they accomplished that. The vocals I thought were great combination of, to me, it was like Tom Araya and Udo Dirkschneider. That's what I was getting. I'm like, Tom Araya cadence, like vocal cadence was like Tom Araya, but then you'd have that Teutonic fucking metal vocal thing going on. So yeah, that was my take on that. That one threw right up to number 2, and definitely one that I need to get on vinyl for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I was Keith Dean always kind of reminded me of David Wayne a little bit.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, there's that metal church in there.
I hear a lot of David Wayne, but he's also kind of, and David Wayne was melodic, but when David Wayne would get melodic, I think his voice kind of went down a few octaves, and he had a lower octave range when he would go more melodic. Keith Dean seems to stay in the higher range and he's melodic, which is interesting because it builds off. Sometimes it rolls off of the aggressive vocals on some songs and into like this really, and that's what makes it so effective, is he just kind of rolls off that with that aggressive higher range into a melodic phrase that it's like, wow, that's really cool. He's comes off as a great singer for the genre, especially because there's a lot of thrash metal singers with exceptions like Joey Belladonna, who was mostly a melodic singer, not really your typical thrash singer, but a lot of thrash singers, like, you had like Don Dottie from Dark Angel, not a great range. Tom Araya, no range, but really good aggressive sounding vocals.
No range, yeah, but great vocal cadence. Yeah,
exactly, right. So
I think if you listen to, I'd like to hear later, like any of you guys catch that the Udo in there. I just felt like really strong.
I can hear that. Yeah.
Udo.
Yeah, I could definitely hear that.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, John, 3 and 2.
All right, number 3 is Infernal Majesty, None Shall Defy. So, yeah, when I kick right into that, is Overlord's the first song on it, right? So
Yeah.
like the vocals immediately remind me of AC Wild from Bulldozer for some reason, but and then I realized like this is like some of the riffing on this definitely reminds me kind of like, yeah, but this is like the most extreme selection of the 5 albums this time. This is the most, I guess, similar to even like Death, Scream Bloody Gore and stuff. It had like a very, I mean, this seemed like a kind of album that would seem pretty influential to a lot of bands, like Darin was saying. And I was kind of noticing like how it's weird because the guys kind of also had teased up hair too, right? Like the singer, didn't he? So it's kind of like they were kind of extreme in terms of like their style of music, but yet they kind of were kind of on the level of like kind of like maybe just like a heavy metal kind of look, I guess, at the time. But Night of the Living Dead, man, that's an awesome song. Like that one sounds total like death metal, kind of reminds me of Necrophagia or something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, None Shall Defy is awesome. That's like Slayer, but even more, maybe better musicianship. Does that sound right to you guys? I mean, Dave Lombardo obviously is really good and stuff, but I feel like the guitarists maybe are a little more precise on this type
Maybe
of
that.
on this band. Skeletons in
Compared
the
to
Closet. Um,
compared to what? Compared to Slayer, you mean?
yeah, yeah, maybe
Oh,
guitar. I mean, I like Slayer. Obviously, they're awesome. They're like they really had a sound, and how they soloed wasn't like the most. You know how they had unique solos. That were a little bit more chaotic. But this band seems like maybe just their musicianship seems a little bit more traditional, maybe.
mm-hmm. Good. Yeah.
Now the
Traditional metal.
singer, now the singer on this was this the drummer actually doing the vocals on the album, Rick Nemes or what's his name? Because Chris Bailey is the vocalist, but I heard like I don't know if it's all the songs, but didn't the drummer actually sing a lot of these or something? I don't know. I could be wrong.
Uh,
Is there a
you're
credit
right.
on the album for that, Darren?
So I was
Just
reading it
drum.
somewhere. I ran across it somewhere, but maybe
We
it
got
doesn't. I think it doesn't say it on the album, but somebody somewhere said something like that it was mostly the drummer that was doing the vocals on. But I don't know. Maybe that's not true. I don't know.
I can see.
Because Chris Bailey is
Rick
the
Rick
vocalist that's listed.
Nemes drums. Psychopath plays bass
Yeah.
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
guy.
Psychopath. I know. Yeah. Who is Psychopath? Anybody know about that guy?
Steve Russell,
He's
I think, is
crazy.
his real name.
Yeah.
He's crazy. But
Um.
no, they just have straightforward bass guitar, vocals.
It
Chris
wasn't.
Bailey
Yeah. It wasn't on the
vocals.
album, but it's somewhere someone mentioned that, but maybe I don't really know how true that is.
It says like that Rick Nemes did lead vocals on track 8, but that Chris Bailey
Was the
was the
actual,
singer.
He's a singer, yeah.
but he recorded the whole album? Huh. Which makes sense. So this band, I guess, must have started in like Toronto, but then they ended up going out to Vancouver or something, or they have connections in 2 different areas of Canada, apparently. But I don't know.
Not sure.
Be
Yeah.
cool if they
Interesting
had
story with.
connections to better artwork.
Well, I was just going to say somebody they put this on the cover because somebody won a contest. They had a contest
Oh,
their cover art, and the
Bad
Is
person
that
idea,
the
that
Gene.
story?
this
Really?
this one, yeah.
Oh,
it's
now I
like
And
feel
I
like
guess
an
it's part of
asshole.
the deal that if you win the contest, we're going to put your art on the cover. And
yeah.
I don't know, maybe they
Wow.
bribed somebody, but
Thanks a lot,
that's
Butch.
how.
I
Yeah.
won that contest,
Oh,
man.
sorry.
That was
Well,
my art, man.
becoming a musician was a better choice for you, Eric.
Oh, that's awesome. It kind of reminds me of like something from Pinwheel or something like Oscar, one of those characters. Like I don't know, what is that? What is the cover of that? It's like a goblin or something, or
Yeah, it looks
We
like
always
an
thought it
orc
was
from Rankin Bass with a crown.
yeah, it kind of looks like. Wait, does the singer's face look like that in the band? Doesn't one of the members kind of resemble that guy or that mascot? Even though like someone else drew, I don't know.
we
Like
See
a
always
that?
thought it was an alligator.
Goblin King.
Yeah, the
A lot
Goblin
of
King.
pictures of the
Yeah,
band. A lot of pictures of the band. They
yeah,
wearing. They kind of look like Laaz Rockit. They got some of the
Meow.
Laaz Rockit. Got it in the
yeah.
Laaz Rocket's wardrobe. Somebody mentioned spiky hair. Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I guess in and around the time, 86, probably when they recorded this, released in 87, but they had kind of that 80s rocker thing going
Yeah.
on.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely the cover. They could have had a better cover, and I think it probably would have. Maybe the cover held them back. And
Yeah.
also,
I don't know.
It does. It
Road
seems pretty iconic in a way.
They look like they
It
definitely
is
like wanted to
now.
play heavy music, but they wanted to still pick up chicks at the same time. They try to straddle that line, whereas most thrash
Yeah,
bands didn't care. Like these guys did.
They should
Yeah.
have been on
yeah,
the front of the cover then if they wanted to get chicks. They had the look. The Goblin King wasn't getting any chicks.
The Goblin King
No.
didn't work out in that
No.
aspect.
no,
Yeah. Cool.
no.
Well, I guess I'll go to my number 2, Holy Terror. Terror Submission. This album was definitely a surprise because I had seen the covers. I've heard of this album in the past, but I've never really listened to it. And the only thing about this is like a Pandora's box because every song there's always something new.
Sure.
Like I think it's the most unique album, even though I think like Nasty Savage has a lot of uniqueness to their sound in general. But this album surprised me because it felt like every song just unraveled like something different every time almost. And it's cool because I like his vocals a lot, and somehow it reminded me of Noddy Holder in a weird way, but like a heavy metal version of it. I don't even know why I kept thinking that, but
Yeah, I can hear
but not all the time. But yeah, Blood of the Saints, Mortal Fear, Guardians of the Netherlands. That one, yeah, as you said, it reminded me of Suicide Solution. Distant Calling, man, the intro to that with the cool freaking melody and the harmony, that was so awesome. Holy crap. Tomorrow's End, the Doom intro was freaking awesome. I just love when I hear those like Doom parts out of nowhere. And Kurt Kilfelt, that guy's an awesome guitar player. Is that the main guitar player, the main soloist? I know there's two guitarists.
Yeah, there's
Kurt
two, right?
Colfelt. Yeah, Mike
Yeah.
Albert and Colfelt. Yeah.
Yeah, his solos are very. I don't know. I wish I could just learn how to play some solos like that, and play that fast, and I don't know. It's freaking awesome. I don't know. It's just something I could never fathom. But yeah, I
I
really
like you playing like you, John.
Yeah, and I just got a SG and some pentatonic and bloop, 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 like that. Yeah, but I like some Phrygians in there and some Ionians, Iomians. I like Iomian scale.
Ionians.
The brown notes with the notes that belong somewhere, but I don't know. So yeah, though I really enjoyed this album. This is freaking awesome. I'm gonna pick up a copy of this one soon. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pick it up before our show, but yeah, that's my number 2. I was really surprised by this one, so it should have been number 1. I shouldn't put Nasty Savage as number 1, which I just gave it away right now because it's my pick. Because I'm an idiot, I should not do that. I should not make my own pick my number 1, but maybe that's the way it is.
That's how they
I
fall
picked
sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 is Holy Terror. Funny story, and I don't even know how this came about, but for the longest time, we thought Holy Terror was a hardcore band. And I didn't really have an appreciation for that at that time, so we kind of were like, that's not in our
I
wheelhouse.
could see that. I could almost see that. Yeah.
I have no
They become a hardcore
basis
band
for
later.
that. I don't think so. I don't know,
What was
Darin.
that?
I don't think the guys from Sheer Terror ended up in a hardcore band later on, did they?
Your Terror, no,
Holy Terror?
Holy Terror is your
Yeah,
Terror.
they did actually. So they disbanded after the second album, and yeah, I mean I've through message and stuff like that I've corresponded with Kurt Colfelt, who is actually in a really cool band called Old Dirty Buzzard now, and they're really sludgy stoner doom. He sings and plays bass, and
I think they're playing in Portland soon.
yeah, I think they're from Seattle.
Okay.
I think Holy Terror, I think, is actually from Seattle. But yeah, Old Dirty Buzzard is the name of his band, and I have their first album. And it's killer. I mean, it's like super heavy. vocals kind of sound a little bit like Lemmy. It's not anything at all like Holy Terror. But to answer your question, I think after the second album they disbanded, and I've seen pictures on Kurt's photo gallery. He like has a mohawk and he's wearing boots, and I think they all went, well, with the exception of Keith Dean. I think they all kind of went separate ways. But the drummer Joe Mitchell, bass player Floyd Flannery, and Kurt were in a band at one point, and they were total punks.
Oh,
So
I mean, maybe we saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I saw them in '88, and they opened up for Creator and DRI. I think DRI headlined, Creator was second, and so I mean, it was in Trenton, and there was a pretty good uh, population of skinheads in and around that area. This is City Gardens in Trenton, and we were at the show, and I guess the Skins and the Punks came out for DRI, and also for the thrash. But whenever there was a crossover band or a punk band, it seemed like the skinheads and the punks would come out for that. And there was a lot of like long haired metalheads and stuff there to see Creator and whatnot. A lot of people weren't really that familiar with Holy Terror at the time, but Holy Terror came out and they were just ripping. I mean, just like hyper speed, but really on point. But very aggressive, and they're like big dudes too. And the funny thing was that so the punks are in on the floor, and they're doing this thing that they would do. It was called the Wall of Death, and they'd lock arms, and they'd move forward, and they kind of like just plow everybody over, and they'd get to the front, and then they turn around and they'd start dancing and stuff like that. So they did that a couple times, and I could tell that I'm just standing off to the side. I'm just like I was looking forward to seeing Holy Terror probably more than the other bands. I'd already seen Creator and I'd already seen DRI. I'd never seen Holy Terror, so I was like really wanting to see them. So I was just off to the side watching the band as well as everything that was going on the floor. And I could tell that it was kind of getting on the nerves of the singer Keith Dean. And then the second time it happened, he started yelling at the Skins, and then he jumped down. And the bass player also like got to the edge of the stage, and he like kind of challenged the Skins, and the Skins kind of backed off. I don't know if they were intimidated or if they were just like, it's not worth it. It's gonna be a fiasco. But I thought that was pretty cool. So I mean, they were they had somewhat of a punk aesthetic, I guess, at that point. I mean, they were like ready to jump down and get into the trenches and mix it up if they had to. But there's definitely kind of a punk vibe to the way they were playing, their attitude, the way that they looked. It just seemed like, yeah, there's some hardcore in there someplace. And I guess after the second album, they kind of followed that and went on a different journey, experimenting with hardcore and stuff like that.
That's funny because we didn't have any basis for that opinion. It just, for whatever reason, we thought they were hardcore. So, like I said, we weren't really, didn't have that appreciation for hardcore at the time. So we just didn't go for that until, like way later. I don't even know. Cause they were on, I think, Road Racer or Road Runner, which isn't like a hardcore label or anything, but I don't know. For whatever reason, we thought they were hardcore. But yeah, once we dove in, yeah, it was pretty unrelenting, with the speed, but they had that progressive element that kind of went in and out and everything. And I went back, preparing for the show, and I read like album reviews, and the thing that popped up more than once, and after I listened to it again, it kind of made sense, where a lot of people said that they had an apocalyptic tone to their music and the guitars.
Yeah.
And that made a lot of sense. So I don't know if that was an actual thing at that time. I don't remember that being brought up, but it definitely covers the tone of that album really well. But what I did notice though is, and you guys chime in on this if you agree, disagree, I thought there was a lot of Maiden-esque parallels to their playing. And with Dean's, not in a tonal quality, but in a delivery, I couldn't help but think, man, he's really into Dickinson, because it seemed like a lot of his delivery was based on how Dickinson would do it at the time too, and there was a lot of melody involved in that too. So tonally, completely different. We're talking, black and white here, but there for me there was that huge Maiden parallel with not only the dual guitars, but especially Dean's vocal delivery, being close to like Dickinson. So I don't know if you guys think I'm far off on that one or
No,
I
not.
no,
caught it. I caught it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
With the guitar harmonies, there was one particular one that I know sounded like an Iron Maiden song, but I couldn't remember how to, which one to reference. But yeah, definitely, I thought of that too. But of course, I compare all guitar harmonies to Maiden besides Thin Lizzy and Wishbone Ash and all that. But
Sure.
yeah,
The other big thing for me, and I don't want to say it was a problem. And Darin, I know that you really enjoy this album a lot, but the production feels
Yeah.
muddy to me. And I don't think it took away from the enjoyment, but I was definitely aware of it the whole time in repeated listens too. I thought, man, if this wasn't quite as muddy, this thing would just be like flawless. But yeah, the title track's killer. Distant Calling, so good. Um, yeah, the dual leads are just killer. So yeah, this one kind of I missed at the time, and had I gotten into it at the time, this probably would have ranked a little bit higher for me. But overall, yeah, this is a fantastic album. So that's my number three. Number two, I'm going with Laaz Rockit. Know Your Enemy. I first got introduced to Laaz Rockit. For the longest time, I couldn't remember. I thought it was a Kerrang compilation cassette, but it was actually Hit Parader. And
Oh,
I
Wild
wrote
Ones or something. Wild Bunch. Is that-
Wild Bunch, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I remember
the
that.
tape
Yeah.
was like red or pink or something like that. And
Had
they had like
Castle on it.
yes, yeah, that's the one. That's
I
exactly the
remember
one.
that.
I think like Lee Aaron was on there, Slayer, Laaz Rockit. God, there was 18 songs, but listen to that over and over. And City's Gonna Burn was on that, and that one really stuck with me. So, Know Your Enemy came out. I was like, oh, that's that band, and we nabbed that up right away. Now, as the years went on, and you kind of grow to know a band's back catalog and everything. Laaz Rockit was not a thrash band by any stretch of the imagination when they first started. They were just definitely more traditional dirty metal band. And Know Your Enemy ended up being more of a transitional record for them, where they were like, okay, we're going to adapt the thrash attitude and sound and everything. So it wasn't perfect at the time. I think Annihilation Principle is probably a superior album if we're being honest here. But for me, Know
Agree with
Your
that.
Enemy was just yeah, Know Your Enemy just it was one of those right places, right time. It just stuck with us in that time frame, and we played the shit out of it. And we just, it was just so good and raw and fast, and we were just all about thrash and how fast we could get. So, um, just love it. I definitely have probably more nostalgia wrapped up in that album that makes me want to put that at a higher level for the discussion. But just looking at a couple of notes here. I like Kuhn's vocals. I think that they do get a little bit irritating at times now that I've listened to this album a bunch of times leading up to today, where you can kind of be like, okay, I've had enough of that. But Last Breath, Say Goodbye, Motherfucker. Love that one. Your Sheen was great. Means to an End. I think it's a pretty where a lot of people will say it's not cohesive even if it is, a transitional record, for me, it's cohesive. I like the flow of it. I like all the songs. I like just everything about it. Um, I know you guys have said you do like the production. I think it's a little on the light side, but again, that's just me. Um, I think I've kind of grown to like Shit's Ugly, the instrumentals, where a lot of people think those are throwaways. It all works for me. So
It's a weird
Laz
place
Rock,
to put them, though, huh? At the very end, like
it was
it's
almost
like
like a last
it's like,
minute
well, we got it.
decision.
We got to get to a certain length of time. Let's just tack these on, like instead of
Yeah,
spreading
yeah.
them out in the record, like in the middle of each side or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
you
weird.
think that, yeah, you think it would be in the middle side, one side too, but I don't know. If that was just a last minute decision, or I don't know, or maybe they didn't even want them, but it was a time thing, like you said, Butch. I don't know.
I don't know.
So, but yeah, I got a lot of good memories wrapped up in that record, so that sits at number two for me. So now we are all at the top of the mountain here. Our number
shit.
ones. Here we go. The big ones, the big guns.
On the
All right. All right, Darin, what you got?
Holy
There it
Terror,
is.
Terror's Mission. I love this record. I love it so much. I would marry it. My wife would marry this record.
Don't tell his missus.
She knows. Um, I got this because I had heard the demo, and so here's the thing. So Kurt Kohlfeldt was originally on. He was in the band Agent Steel, and he was on the first Agent Steel album, Agents of Skeptics Apocalypse, and he left after that album. I liked the music on Agent Steel. I had a hard time with John Cyrus's vocals. Are you guys familiar with Agent Steel, the singer
Yeah.
John Cyrus, Greek guy?
Player.
So when I heard that there was this like Holy Terror to me at the time, the way it was described was like a spin-off of Agent Steel. So I'm like, cool, a version of Agent Steel without that annoying singer. I'll check that out. And the demo had 4 songs. Guardians of the Netherworld was on it. I think Black Plague. Um, the 2 melodic songs, Distant Calling, I think was on it. And I think it opened with Black Plague. I don't have the demo here to reference, but there's about 4 songs off of this album in the original recording. And I really liked it. The production on the demo was a demo production, so it wasn't that great. But I liked the demo, and I made a mental note to follow the band if they got signed and check out their album when it came out. And lo and behold, it did. And the thing that struck me was, I guess you could see, like, their logo is really interesting,
Mhm.
and the artwork I thought was really cool too, with the serpent coiled around the cross. But the logo is really intricate. It's like bone and skull and organic things that make up Holy Terror. So I saw the album cover. I was already familiar with the band, but I saw the album cover, and I'm like, wow, that's really awesome. And of course, I love artwork that marries into what I would anticipate to be the concept of the lyrics or the music. I like the whole package, like the visual and the audio to correspond. And for me, it does. Mike, did you describe them as being apocalyptic? Did you say that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had gone back and kind of looked to see, at old reviews and interviews and things, and that came up quite a bit.
yeah. So there is that, and it's definitely devoid of any of the cartoon thrash stuff at the time. There's nothing like really cheesy about it at all. I mean, the lyrics are pretty cerebral. They're broad enough that you can draw your own conclusions if you want to look at them as an apocalyptic revelations, biblical kind of a thing. You can certainly you can take that approach, but if you just want to look at it as maybe like sort of a euphemism for society as it was in 1986 and moving forward into the current context, I think it also kind of represents that, which I think is really cool that you could take something from 1987 and bring it into the current context and have it be relevant. And that's what I appreciate. I mean, so I got this when I was 18. I'm 56, going to be 57 now, and I still I still really enjoy it. And that's pretty cool that you can go from one age to the next and still find something. I mean, there's a lot of stuff like there's a lot of music that I listened to when I was a teenager that I like mostly from the nostalgic perspective, like, oh man, I remember that was so much fun to listen to, and you like it because it triggers memories and things like that. But this is one of the albums that I can actually kind of relate to on a contemporary level, especially with some of the things that are going on now. Um, so that's really cool. As far as the music itself, it's like total thrash. I mean, this is like to me, this is my favorite thrash album, and I think it's the album for me in my entire collection that best represents thrash metal. It's fast, it's precise, it's aggressive. It's precise, but it's not so much so that it gets really tediously perfect. There is some like aggressive. It is aggressive, but it's precise enough where it fits into genre, but it still has kind of the savage, primal kind of like aggressive quality to it. Um, Great lead guitars. I think that it primarily was Kurt Kohlfeldt's band, but he hired the young guy Mike Alvord, and he's also a great guitar player. The two of them complement each other really well. Joe Mitchell on drums used to play in Dark Angel. In fact, he was on first Dark Angel album. We Have Arrived. There's somebody else was on the album cover, but it says Joe Mitchell plays drums, and that's Joe Mitchell is in Holy Terror. And that was actually kind of a running joke with my friends and I, because we thought it was so weird that they have a picture of somebody else that doesn't play on the album on We Have Arrived and then have it lower. Joe Mitchell plays drums on the album, so we would talking about an album or something. We'd say, but Joe Mitchell plays drums on this album, even though Joe Mitchell plays drums. Anyway, Joe Mitchell is officially got his picture and drums. And his style is pretty hardcore. It's kind of punkish in a way. He's not like he plays some double kick, but it's a lot of like D beats, which is pretty cool. And that kind of gives them a bit of a hardcore. So it is like a good balance. What's that?
He plays D beats on it, like
Yeah,
discharge style D beats.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that. I got to go back again.
Yeah, especially I think, and tomorrow's or Alpha and Omega, you get some of that D beat stuff.
Cool.
Discharge. Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely I can hear a Discharge, hardcore vibe to it, and yeah, I just really dig them. And I'm trying to think what else did I want to say about it. Oh, there's two versions. You said that the production, Mike, was a little bit muddy.
Mhm.
So this, which is kind of strange, because this came out on Under One Flag, which is I guess the European version of Combat, or it's the companion label to Combat, as it was in the 80s. And no, actually, I guess it's Music for Nations, Under One Flag, because the flag, I think but things that were released on Combat in the US were released on Under One Flag, like some of the Combat stuff that came out in the US was also
Exodus.
Yeah, Exodus was on Under One Flag, but I think Under One Flag is like a small imprint label of Music for Nations. But anyway, so I found this at Tower Records when it came out, and it was kind of hard to find. But then Roadrunner Road Racer
Yeah.
released it, and they did a remix, and the remix I think sounds awful. Like, this doesn't sound great, but I think it's better than what Road Racer did with it. I think they even changed the sequence up a little bit. They put some kind of like there's a gap between a couple songs. They did something weird with it, which was like really annoying. And I used to have the Road Racer version, but I don't know what happened to it. I think I gave it away trying to turn somebody on to Holy Terror. I said, "Oh, you're gonna take this," and it got all the songs on it anyway.
I wasn't aware there was a remix between the two, releases, state and Europe, but that would make sense then if, that's the one I had always heard. So that makes sense where the production value kind of caught me.
Yeah, but it's not the greatest production. It's a little bit crowded. In the mix, I think it probably would have benefited. But I mean, listening to it this way for so many years, I mean, I think it has an aggressive. I mean, it kind of gives it an aggressive quality that finishes the album pretty cool. And I mean, it's all. I mean, at this point, would I want it remixed? I don't think so. I think I'll like it just the way it is. Although I would say that if you had a choice, if you were in a record store and you saw the Road Racer version and you saw the Under One Flag version, I would pick up the Under One Flag version. I think it's the better of the two. But anyway, Terror Submission is my number one from '87, hands down. I'm glad you guys liked it too. I was like thinking, oh man, I hope they don't pick Terror and Submission for number 5. That's gonna hurt my feelings. I like that they ranked it pretty high on everybody's list. So that's really cool.
All right, Butch, how about you for number 1?
My feelings are hurt. Fuck all you guys.
I was waiting for that.
This album. Number one, I was keeping my mind open. I was willing to think one of those other records could possibly usurp it, but I love this record. I saw these dudes in 1987. I think it was 87, 87 or 80. Anyway, it was, we went to see Overkill at the Airport Music Hall in Allentown, and it was Overkill with Hades and Mean Streak. Um, and I thought Hades was great. I didn't know any of their music at the time. It was just, going and hearing them for the first time. I thought they were killer. A lot of this stuff, I definitely remembered um, when my buddy went out and bought the cassette after the show. And I definitely remember from the show, Mask of the Red Death had stood out, and the leaders. I don't know. There's something about Hades I've always liked. I think first of all, let me just say the production on this is probably the worst produced record of the five. There's just something about it. It sounds very much like a first record done by a metal band at the time that hadn't yet had a little. It could have done with a little. I mean, you don't want anything to be too polished, but it could have done with a little bit more polish to it. I always describe these guys to people as kind of like if Iron Maiden was a thrash band, but listen, if Maiden was a thrash band, but listen to Doom.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, and you can tell like they're like Lorenzo's a Doom guy because in every project that he's done, there's a little bit of it. And as Hades' career goes on, it gets doomier and doomier. And then Nonfiction was pretty doomy, and the stuff he does now, like Patriarchs in Black, is there's a good bit of doom in there. And so for me, it's not like this record to me doesn't sound like I feel like the flow is really good on here. They do try to do a bunch of things, but for me it never felt like it was incongruous, or that it was too much. Like I just always like the flow of the record. Some of these riffs on here are killer. I'd like that they'd go from a thrash thing, but they'd have like there's little bits of Trouble in there, or like I said, like little bits of Maiden. And I love Alan Tecchio's voice. A lot of the stuff Alan's done over the years, I just think he's got a killer voice. He did the stuff with Watchtower is cool. I love all the stuff he did with Hades and Nonfiction. And then he did a few records with why am I spacing on his name now? The bass player from Symphony X. Did a few albums, and Alan sounds awesome on those. I know, especially the second album, Pawn and Prophecy, which is based on a Macbeth, is really great. It was one of my favorite records over the last like 5-6 years. But yeah, Alan's range is like those high notes that he hits and stuff. He's just like awesome. There's like I don't know. There was like a slight technicality in here that doesn't go overboard without it being too technical. Like there's like it crosses just a little bit with I don't know, technical thrash, but there's like a little bit, there's like hints of power metal. There's like all kind of stuff going on this record. It's hard to like, you couldn't, they're one of those bands that I think one of the selling problems with a band like this was that like you couldn't just say they were a thrash band, although there's thrashy stuff on here. They weren't a straight up metal band, traditional metal band in the sense of like Maiden or Priest or bands like that either, or Sabbath. They kind of like fell between the cracks. There's even like some light touches of, I don't know, hardcore is not the right word, but there's definitely like some political stuff going on in here and a little bit of punk, just a little bit of punk, like a wee little bit. But man, I love the playing on here. I think Dan's a great guitar player. And Night Stalker is one of my favorites on here. Just pounds. I love Mask of the Red Death. I don't know if there's any song on here I don't like. just for me, a killer record. The one that came after this, I don't know, space in the title of it now. It's got like the
First, I think it's if at first you don't succeed. Is that what it was?
yeah, that's it. It's got like the cups, like
yeah.
It's a cool cover.
Yeah,
It is
it's
a cool
okay.
cover,
It didn't it just didn't work as well as this one does for me. Now their later records, the last record they did, an album called Damnation. I love that record. That's probably the doomiest thing they did. Killer. I wish they would do one more. But I'm happy with what I go back to this record a lot. For having as much as I have to go back to it is pretty remarkable. So yeah, for me, killer record, Hades, resisting success. I'm glad I got to see them live. I feel that's one of those. I don't know. It's one of those bands that I wouldn't. I put on the resume, so to speak, of I saw this band, and it was pretty cool because I feel like unless you lived on the East Coast, you probably didn't see these guys. But yeah, that's my number one. And like I said, there was a chance that that Holy Terror could have overtaken it, but in the end, I love that record. The more I listen to it, I'm just like, that's one of my jams.
All right, Eric, what you got in your number one spot?
Well, that was I'm really thankful for this one that we're doing this time around. These 5 albums have been great to just pour through again and again and again, and catch up on some stuff I hadn't heard and some stuff that I haven't heard in a long time, and just kind of slipped by for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, Butch, your point about it. Well, first of all, I think you like those guys a lot because the vocals, like I said, they're pretty top notch vocals, man. It's kind of a straightforward. I would have guessed that one for you, but
yeah, I love that. I love the pairing of him and Lorenzo. Alan's voice with Dan's riffs is like a winner for me on anything those guys have done together.
It's really nice. It's a really good combo. You mentioned the punk thing. I mean, doesn't escape me that is one of the most important things in the thrash era was that connection to punk, right? Because the best bands all were, when we started my band Dead Conspiracy, it was a punk band before that, and then it became what it was kind of death metal, I guess, when I joined. But we just called ourselves a punk band trying to play metal, because that we'd all just play punk and and like Judas Priest and stuff before. But I love that connection in there. It just makes those bands sticky to me, which is probably, I mean, these guys are not, I mean, obviously the only one left for me is Infernal Majesty. And I hate the fact that it's the band I picked, but I'm going to go ahead and, let the cat out of the bag. I mean, it wasn't my idea. I was having coffee with my friend Nate Carson, who's, some of you guys might know Nate.
I know
him, Nano Tier Productions. Yeah, he plays drums in Witch Mountain, and we were having coffee, and I was telling him about the ranking table. I was like, I'm doing this thing; it's really cool. I got great guys, and I was like, he goes, he's like, what are you doing next? Like 1987. He goes, Infernal Majesty, and I was like, fuck, forgot. He's like, oh my god, it's a no brainer. I was like, oh, I got it, So I sent it through. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I just knew right now. I was like, yeah, that's the one. So I just forgot, So thanks to Nate on that choice. But I wanted it to not be number one. I just, every time I put it back on, man, it brings me back to like the German thrash stuff in ways, like early Destruction and the stuff that I just I just love. I mean, again, you start going, okay, well, it's stuff from my childhood or whatever, my youth. The day that Trey sent to me the Kingdom Come demo, and I put it on, about shit my pants. Like it's not like that, but for listening to it again now and going like, oh yeah, this is fucking cool, man. These guys had their finger on the pulse at the time. They were doing it, and you listen to how they. I was even listening to some of like the little kind of progressive stuff. They're doing some parts where first of all, I think was it John where you talk about like they're playing their musicianship?
Yeah.
When I was going back and first I was like, they're really good. But then the more I listened, I'm like, wow, these guys actually have some really cool shit going on. I felt like they were contemporary with
kind of
like,
ahead of its time in a way
What's that?
too. A little ahead of its time too, like some of the riffing.
Well,
Almost,
it almost think contemporary, like Release from Agony, I think came out the same year, right? But
yeah,
if you listen to some of the guitar melodies, they sound like the same shit that was on Release from Agony, and you're talking
Yeah.
about the same year. So you're thinking like, we all have the perspective of hindsight, but when you're thinking about some guys in Canada and some guys in Germany,
yeah.
and
maybe they
and
haven't heard that yet or something.
yeah,
or,
they're not hearing what each
Yeah.
other's doing in their garage, whatever, and they're doing the same kind of shit. I'm like, that
same
always,
wavelengths. Yeah,
yeah, kind of hive mind or something like.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was like, I really like in the drums, and you're playing like skank beat type shit. He's duck, 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 then he goes his little snare fills. I can't even remember what they were. He had some little snare fills in there. They're so simple, kind of punk rock. That I'm like, he's not trying to show off. He's just doing cool shit. I don't know. I'll go way out left field, but if you think of the song Brick House, there's a part at the beginning when he goes, there's just the two little beats on the snare, and you're like, he only does it once in the song, but it's like in the face, that. And this, he did shit there like that to me. I'm like, oh, he got me with that. Okay, cool. They remind me of a band called Savior from Portland. If anyone's ever heard them, they were, demo band back then. They didn't get signed. They should have. Jeff Walter went on to be in the Poison Idea and stuff like that. But they were really great, and we did a lot of shows together. But they sound a lot like Infernal Majesty. It's crazy, like that we weren't listening to these guys, and it's so cool to see, like, what was happening at the time, musically, as we all kind of came out of punk and into our love for metal and trying to make this stuff happen. I don't know if that's what they were doing, but I think they did it really well. I didn't have a lot of details other than like those little things like the drum bit and some of the relation to like what Destruction was doing, but musically, it's what I liked from like Haunting the Chapel era, and like just that, just kind of straightforward. It's enjoyable for me to listen to it at any time, and I don't have to be in a particular mood. And so it kind of. But now I feel like tomorrow it might be, it might be the Holy Terror, because after all the conversation about it, and I'm like, well, fuck, nah, I might have screwed that one up, but I'm still confident in my vote. So I love the record. It's fantastic. I need to get her. But except for that fucking cover, I wish I would have been better at drawing when I would have sent my submission in. I just done the little, can you draw the rabbit or whatever, or the bunny or whatever, out of the TV guide.
Yeah.
And then my next thing was the.
There had to have been a better submission than that. I mean, there must have been some like.
There was like three guys.
It was probably some girl sent it in, and one of the dudes is like, she's really cute, like, we gotta pick this one. I'm telling you, we're picking this one.
Probably
he drew the Goblin King.
Yeah.
Come on, guys, no, get behind it. It's Goblin King. You get it, right? I don't know why. I know we were running long on time here too. Well, actually, I think we said we were going to go longer this time. But Darin's story about the skinheads with the wall of death or whatever, it just reminded me of this, like the most crazy, like kind of non sequitur situation like that. And back in '87, in Dead Conspiracy, we brought up Sadus on the Death to Posers demo, and they played our first show with us, and they headlined, and they were staying at my house and shit. And I was like, man, these guys are like axe parted hair with headbands and fucking big wide leggers. And like straight out of, Bay Area, like hippies. And we just sat and listened to Black Sabbath all day shit. But when the skinheads showed up at the fucking show, Darin Travis like jumped up on top of a car, like something out of like Over the Edge or something, like with his wide leggers fucking flared in the wind. He's motherfucker, I'll kill all you. He just threatened to murder all these skinheads, and it was like the craziest shit ever. That's it. It was totally. It's not relevant, but it just made me think about a crazy skinhead story, and just it's like the headbands with the axe parted hair and the wet bell bottoms. I just never would have seen that he was going to go fucking psycho and ready to challenge like 20 skinheads who left, who didn't do anything after that. Very intriguing. So fuck yeah.
Sadis is killer. I love Sadis.
I mean, it was. They were like, don't you guys play fast up here? Because they were fucking fast, and that was Death to Posers. That was we played a little place called the 99 Musician Saw, and they were fucking amazing. I was upset because Steve like hawked this huge loogie on my bass amp on axe, like he just turned his head and went, whoo, and it was so like I always said it was so loaded with tar, like it stayed down the front of my amp, and like 15 years later when I sold that PV, it still had the fucking spit down the front of it. Probably could have scraped it off and smoked it. So,
full of resin, man.
It was. It came with a story, man. You want to buy the amp, you get a whole story behind it. So
it's got patina.
Get some Steve Giorgio DNA out of that.
Steve spit on this, man.
Maybe I should have taken him. Might have made me a better bass player.
John, number 1.
All right, well, I'm going to have to get it nasty with Nasty Savage Indulgence. I gave my copy, I think I gave it to Ian from Cauldron. It was a picture disc, and I had a copy, but I gave it to him on a tour.
You did. You did,
because
when me and Butch interviewed Ian and Jason, he brought that up because we were talking about when you guys went to the House of Guitars and everything, and they were like, "Oh man, we love John. He's so great. He let us stay at his house, and he gave us a whole bunch of his records, man."
That's what I brought out. Like,
leave. And he's like, "Here, have this one. You can have this one."
That's what I had, like all the different versions of Black Sabbath, Master Reality out for some reason. Then a copy of Backwater was in there for some reason. But so this is the first one I actually got back in the day. I heard about Nasty Savage on a local metal radio show called Sonic Insanity, and I remember the DJ just saying like, "Man, he went by Mercyful Mike," so because he's a big Mercyful Fate fan, and he recommended this band, and I when I picked up the album I was like, "It's freaking awesome," and when I picked up Indulgence, I didn't know how that album was going to be. This is I don't know how many years ago I grabbed this one, but when I put it on, I was like, man, the music on this album is just so cool. Like all the riffs, everything has been amped up to the next level, and like on the song Indulgence, what's really interesting is like how when I hear it, it reminds me of like a combination of Woman in Uniform meets Invasion. Like that one part, like it sounds like almost like Nasty Ronnie was trying to be like a Paul Diano in a weird way, but like to the next level, and I love the tone. I love the production on this album. Inferno, Hypnotic Trance, Stabbed in the Back. Sometimes the band almost kind of reminds you of like Rigor Mortis too. Do you ever get that vibe?
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. Sure.
I'm not really familiar with them, actually.
You're not familiar with them? They're
I think they had one album on New Renaissance.
They're a New Renaissance band.
Wizard of Gore is on it or something, and I mean they kind of have a similar sound, kind of maybe a little, maybe not as like I don't know. I have to go back and listen to that. I think I have that around here somewhere.
You're talking Rigor Mortis from Texas, right?
Yeah, from Texas.
Yeah.
And I think the bassist ended up. He's like in Guar, right? Or he was like he started Guar, or I don't even know. But anyways, I was lucky enough to see Nasty Savage in 2004 at the Chicago Classic Metal Fest. So I am proud to have seen the original lineup. I don't know if the bassist was original, but it was the original.
Actually.
Was it?
Because Fred. Yeah, I think I'm not sure, but I know that. So Fred left after the first album. Then they had
Dezo,
the bass player on that, Dezo, Esteban, Bartha.
Yeah.
and then they had Richard Morehouse on no, Richard Bateman, and then somebody Morehouse. They had like they were going through a revolving door of bass players. But I
Hmm.
think in the early 2000s,
When they first got back together, like,
Fred came back. Yeah.
oh, okay. So yeah, yeah.
So
Ben and Dave were there, and Curtis
yeah.
Beeson, and yeah, and Ronnie was still smashing TVs and stuff on them, and we loved this set. It was all. It was like a surreal experience because we saw them. We saw Metal Lucifer, which was freaking. It was freaking awesome. Twisted Tower Dyer played that. Um, I can't remember who else was on it. It was so long ago, but yeah, I was lucky to see them live, and even though I wasn't around for the original days, but yeah, no, that's definitely my number one. I almost would have went with Holy Terror because that was a big surprise to me. I almost was going to make that number one, but now I got to pick up a copy of it. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Darren's like that. Darren's like that guy in High Fidelity. Like when he puts on the record, he's like, "Now I will sell 3 copies of this
Right.
record."
I was gonna say,
Hey,
yeah,
man,
we
is
just
this the new
sold about
Holy
3
Terror?
copies.
Yeah.
Even though I just like the Hades a lot too, and Infernal Majesty, so and Laaz Rocket, they're all good. So
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Like
Yeah.
everybody has kind of said, this was a really cool cross section of '87. You know, omitting the obvious choices. My number one ended up being Infernal Majesty. This was like the golden nugget for me, and for the longest time, we did not pay any attention to this band based on the artwork alone. We'd be flipping through it, and we're like, "There's a fucking alligator again. Fuck this band. They must just suck.
Alligator.
Look at that stupid
Alligator
alligator.
King.
It's such a shame. I know. It's like,
Who puts that stupid alligator on there?"
Glamdring.
We thought it was a badass band. We thought the name was fucking great, and then we're like, "Why would they ruin it with this fucking alligator?" But anyway, you know, we finally came around, and I remember we listened to it. I can't remember if one of my buddies got it on cassette or I got it. I don't remember, but we were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." But it was kind of fleeting because there was so much other stuff going on at the time. So to be able to come back to this one, I mean, it seriously, you know, I think when Eric, you said this was your choice, I was like, "Fuck yeah, man! I want to go back and check this one out."
yeah, I
You
was
know,
very excited too.
man, so pleasantly surprised that it made my number one spot here. You know, artwork be damned. Dude, Chris Bailey's vocals are just, you know, vitriol or however you say that. They're just, you know, bitter. You know, he's coming in. But there's like this real sinister vibe through the whole album. And there's definitely Butch's favorite band has that little bit of influence. Possessed is definitely involved in there. I know Butch is very happy about, but I think they've definitely got one foot planted in Hell Awaits too. There's a lot of Hell Awaits in this album.
Yeah.
It's not
yeah,
super overbearing because whether they meant to or not, man, they got their toes in the death metal end of the pool on this album as well. So there's that just a really, really cool mix of all of that together that just gets this really sinister, awesome, evil vibe. And I know, John, you mentioned Night of the Living Dead.
oh my god,
Such a
it's so
badass
good.
song.
Yeah,
But man, I none shall defy that the title
yeah.
track
Oh,
is
that's good.
just brilliant. And there's a couple parts in there where, again, whether they meant to or not, I can hear At Dawn They Sleep through a couple of sections of that song that just give it enough of that really, you know, creepy kind of evil vibe. And I've always,
Evil Dead.
yeah, I've been saying, you know, Hell Awaits, I think has got the most evil vibe of all Slayer albums, and they kind of harness that a little bit with this one. But also too with their playing, you know, I don't know if it was John or Eric, you mentioned that maybe their playing was a little bit ahead of the curve at that time, and I agree with that because the more I listen to it, and you know, you listen with that real critical ear because of, you know, the conversations coming up, but I really feel like every single note matters on this album. Like it was all put there for a reason. It wasn't just kind of haphazardly thrown together. It's like every note works in the arrangement and the whole record. So when it concludes, it's like, man, I just listened to a phenomenal piece of metal. It's very cohesive. I can't say enough good stuff about it, and it really blew me away at this stage in life, this part of the game where I was like, man, had I paid more attention to it back in '87, we'd be having a little bit of a different discussion. But it was really cool going back, and
It's those
that
brick
definitely
house
made
drum
its way.
beats, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Laaz Rockit was my pick. I just
Ohio
loved
Players.
that. Right.
I love that song.
That's the Commodores.
Oh, Commodore, I would fire out. With the other Ohio Players does get the fire out, right? Or
It's just called Fire.
Firehouse, right? Or
It's just called Fire.
oh, Fire!
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's got the breakdown in it. That's so awesome. Yeah, I love that song. Yeah. It's been a long time. I was like dusting out the cobwebs in there.
Well, those were good albums. This was a lot of fun. Good conversation. Good group of albums. So
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, everyone. We appreciate you joining us for another edition of The Ranking Table. We'll be back again soon with a brand new year and brand new group of albums to rank. So until then, we'll see you later. We'll save you a chair at the ranking table.
Nice.
Metal.
Forever.